Can you pray for us, please?
All right. Our Lord and our God, we thank you so much for this blessed day. We ask that you oversee what we're about to do, oversee this webinar. We ask that as we talk about suicide, Lord, that you speak to us and you also give us insights. Help us to know what's really going on amongst us. Help us to know how to deal with it, how to survive, and how to live for you. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. 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 Good evening, everybody. Can we spotlight me, please, Tosin? As your screen is on.
My screen is on. Do you want me to take it out?
Yes, please. So I can just say hello. Okay. Thank you. No. Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. I know it's Father's Day today, so thank you for the fathers that are here, the fathers to be, and those of you who have left spouses, your own fathers. But we know that the Heavenly Father is with us. Today we're going to talk about suicide, just to bring awareness to us, so that we can understand, we can help somebody who may be in that place. We can also understand the impact, if anybody is thinking of doing it, what it leaves behind, the loss, the confusion, the grief, when somebody else decides that that's the only way out. To help me today, I've got two wonderful men, and it's so wonderful that we have men to share about this. Usually, a lot of times it's the women who talk about what they're really going through. So please help me welcome Chuks. I was trying to pick out of his resume what to read. Should I leave it for you, Chuks?
Yeah, leave it for me because
okay.
Leave it for me. I've got that.
All right. So Chuks is going to really take us on a proper sort of journey about what it feels like, what we can do, and then we'll talk to the second guest after that. So, Chuks, welcome. Thank you again.
Thank you. I'll just get my PowerPoint up here. And, welcome, everybody. I've put the British flag because I'm in England at present, and I'm sure we've got colleagues in Nigeria and also around the world. So good evening and welcome. So at this PowerPoint, I'm going to sort of talk about, give you awareness of suicide, prevent suicide in the world, as well as in particular in Nigeria, from what I've gathered. And my interest is because my father was from Port Harcourt and my mother is Jamaican. But if I trace my ancestry DNA, I am very Nigerian. And so I lived in Nigeria in the early 60s, but I came back to the United Kingdom as a refugee in 1967. And today is not only Father's Day, it's International Refugee Day as well. So for me, this is a very appropriate way to spend my time. My youngest daughter is in a different room listening. So, and behind me, you might see my daddy's card. So let me take you through this, please. So as Lydia said, it's an emotionally charged subject. And normally in this, we would have people with me, and I have got two colleagues, Nev and Faith here, who we like to check on people. And I noticed that most of you have your cameras off. Sometimes it's really good if you can to put your cameras on, because we want to make sure to keep you safe and to see that you're all okay. Because it sometimes triggers memories from the past. And it's really important that self-care and compassion are really important, and especially your own self-compassion. So, and when I say certain things, I might make it sound like I'm generalizing or stereotyping. And I'm very mindful that those of us who've lost people to suicide, that I'm not just quoting numbers or figures. There's a much greater ripple effect that affects us all. So I would just like to sort of give that as a bit of a warning and a bit of care for us all. Okay. So as I said, today is World Refugee Day. It's Father's Day, American Eagle Day, a few funny things there as well. National Ice Cream Soda Day in America. And it's the day before the longest day of the year. Could someone just mute themselves? Could we all mute ourselves? Is that okay? Sorry, thank you. So yeah, the day before the longest day of the year, so a very important day as well. So I just want us to pause and just have a reflection to think about those that like you might have lost to suicide, or those that you know of, or just a reflection to our fathers, and especially our Father in heaven, like Lydia said. And we just reflect on what we're going to try and talk about and share about a bit over this next 2 hours. I'll ring a little bell, and then I'll ring the bell after about a minute. Thank you very much for that. Does everyone know how to do the annotate on Zoom? So if you can just put a stamp as a heart as to where in the world you are when you go up onto the annotate. Oops, go back, sorry. When you go up to the annotate. Does everyone know how to do that? Yeah, thank you, cool. Faith, you're not there. Cool. Have we got people in Nigeria? I hope we have. So am I with just the predominantly diaspora? Is anyone? Oh, here we go. Some people there, good, yeah. Nancy's there, cool. What was it? All right, thank you for that, everyone.
Somebody wanted to know how to annotate
and a stamp. It's okay, but some people, I can see people trying and then they're drawing, but that's okay. Esther got her hand up. Esther, you want to say something? If you unmute yourself, Esther.
Sorry, I was just trying to say my location, to type my location, but I didn't know how to do that.
Okay, no problem. Put it in the chat. People put it in the chat if we're struggling to annotate, and I'll just continue. Oops, so. Stop.
Okay, somebody's in India. People
Yes.
are in the UK.
Nice.
Nigeria.
Nice.
Okay, the hearts are popping up now.
Yeah, cool. I'm trying to clear. Where's my mouse gone? Trying to clear my screen. Okay, cool.
Okay, somebody says they're in Croydon, in the UK.
Cool. I'm just trying to clear my screen so I can go on. Or is it not working? Annotate. Apologies about this. I'm trying to get out of this annotate bit. Right. Okay, just quickly tell you a bit about myself. So as I said to you, parents were, my parents met in London. This is me on the left-hand side. And the two pictures in the middle here, just by the hearts there, is me in Nigeria in 1965. And there's me at Corona School in Lagos. I don't know, is Corona still going, Lydia?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
yes,
so that was my school. And then the ones below me in Jamaica. And this is when we came back to England as refugees in 1967. So I don't wear suits nowadays, but you can see I was a smart dresser back in the 60s. This is the boarding school I went to after as well. And there's my father, who was a High Court judge, both in England, Botswana, Belize, Nigeria, and a place called Kiribati. And I went to a school that was 2,000 acres, and there you can see our strange school uniform. So previous things I've done, I've been a hotel caterer, massage therapist, a probationary Christian Buddhist monk. I've worked as an ambulance person, as a paramedic, family support worker, worked with drugs and alcohol, and various roles in social services. And when I was younger, from Nigeria, I was privately fostered, which basically meant my father paid for someone to look after me when I was at boarding school. Happens a lot with a lot of Nigerian people. And then I set up an organization called Ubuntu Counseling Services, and I worked for the local hospital as a diversity and mental health support person, as well as health promotion. And I've done training in gender equality, race equality, mental health, and health promotion. I've been a health equality lead for our local mental health trust, and I'm now a mental health mentor, a prison chaplain, and I've founded these two organizations, Action to Prevent Suicide and Goodwill in Action to Prevent Suicide, which is a charity to look after people who are feeling suicidal, but not in crisis, where we want to look after them in befriending. And there's a couple of other organizations there called Circlewise and Orchid Community. And I work with our NHS as a part-time health and well-being coach, promoting social prescribing, which is taking people who might be struggling with life and not putting them through normal services, but putting them into services within the community. And one of the reasons why I chose suicide prevention to work with is that through my traumas and through my life, and especially my traumas that I had in Nigeria when I was a child, I wanted something that could blend everything together without me thinking whether I was an Igbo or Yoruba or Hausa. I wanted something that synthesized my life and my life experiences into something. And I've also been personally touched by suicide through friends, through relations. I've also had to, unfortunately, pick up body parts off railway tracks when I was in the ambulance service. And as I say, setting this up the last 5 years, can someone mute themselves, please? Just check where you are, sorry. Can everyone make sure they're muted, please? And so I found this subject is a universal subject. So some of the things I'll be sharing are what I see to be universal, and I'll try and also highlight things that I think about Nigeria. But my passion for work, as I say, working in Nigeria also happened from 2017. I went to an international conference for one of the training providers that I work with, and that was in Atlanta in America. And as I came out of that, the next day, I bumped into a chap who we were talking about suicide prevention in Nigeria. So over this last 4 years, I've been really wanting to come to Nigeria to train people in what I see as community suicide prevention, as well as the professionals. And we were talking to an organization called MANI, which some of you might know, and I'll put something up there towards the end. But COVID got in the way. But I'm so grateful for Lydia to get in touch with me, because this has re-energized my feeling that I want to get into the African continent and work with Nigeria first, because that's the country that I come from. But I've also going to work with other countries, South Africa, Botswana, Kenya, and Tanzania. Those are the organizations and countries that we're talking to at present. So there's a lot of stigma and taboo. I think in Nigeria still, or at least I know it's still an illegal act to take your life by suicide. It wasn't an illegal act in the United Kingdom up until 1961. Hence, there's a lot of stigma, not only here, but also in Nigeria. It would mean in 1961, you couldn't get buried in a church. It would mean that your parents didn't want to talk about it. That has caused a lot of problems, because without talking about it, it has been shown that the people who have been affected by suicide carry on that suicidal thoughts in their family. And you'll see the figures I'll give you for the sort of interlinks. It doesn't mean that everyone who's lost someone to suicide is going to take their life by suicide, but it's a very common reality to have thoughts of suicide. So when it was changed, the law was changed, we are also used to saying the words committed suicide. And I suppose this is part of the difficulty about it in Nigeria as well, because by using the words committed suicide, it means that you had to prove beyond reasonable doubt that it was taken and that someone had taken their life by suicide, which has got the energy of being like a criminal reality. In England, the last 2 years, we have now changed to in the balance of probabilities. So what that has meant is it's made people not feel so ashamed and try to bury it within the families. Because when I used to work in the ambulance services, someone had driven their car into a tree and there was no one else around, we would just call that an RTC, or an RTC means road traffic collision, or RTA, road traffic accident. But it's now in a situation where we're starting to research before what has happened to that person, so that we can get to the balance of probabilities, which would mean that the figures may come up to be higher than we already have in this country. It's complex, but it's also quite simple. There's a link between self-harm and suicide. And to be in honesty, suicide is not normally spontaneous. It builds up and up and up. And those people who've tried to take their life and not succeeded or completed have come back and said they didn't really want to die. They just wanted the pain to stop. Now, in my own admission, from about the age of 19, even up until a few weeks ago, I had some suicidal thoughts. But my difference between my 19-year-old self and my 61-year-old self nearly is that the 61-year-old self didn't want to actually die. I was just having thoughts because my life had gone through another change. And so in this country, 2/3 more men take their life to suicide than women. And we lose about 6,000 plus people per year. And so when I get into it, you'll see the sort of figures. I just want to highlight what I call passive suicide and active suicide. Suicide, as I say, is an act of self-killing, which is it has such a ripple into our hearts. And yet there are many behaviors that we all do collectively that we don't really judge as suicide, but at one level they are passive suicide: drinking too much, smoking, drug abuse, so many things. So I just want to show you a couple of things here, not to make suicide any less or to make any of the other diseases any more. But on this picture here, you can see up to nearly 18 million people a year lose their lives to heart disease. That could be brokenheartedness, it could be wrong foods, it could be so many. But you've got all the list of different diseases down there. But suicides there, we lose over the world about 1 million people a year to suicide. But that 1 million people, as I said, has such a ripple effect on everyone that it's really painful. So that's why we want to really focus on looking at suicides. But there's all these other risk factors. So I just want to highlight that because, as I say, even though we are focusing predominantly on suicide, through COVID and through many things, we have to recognize so many things that cause death. And then for someone to take their life by suicide, what is it in their heart or their minds that makes them feel so alone that they feel they have no other option? So thank you all of you coming today, because the more that you're all here because you care about this subject, and it's really important that we can therefore help people who might be thinking of suicide. So every 40 seconds on the planet, someone is taking their life. So you've seen how long we've been on. That's been quite a few people on the planet. And those are the ones we know about. And as I said, it's 2/3 more men than women, though in certain places, women are starting to come up. So this is the global death rate from 2017 across the planet. And the different colors, so you'll see Nigeria's not at the highest level. You've got places like Greenland, which is off the scale. India is very much higher. And South America, there we have, I think that's like Colombia, or not Colombia, that's Guyana. And around that in South America, then you've got North America and everything else. I will be sending out this PowerPoint, which we can send out to you afterwards so you can look. So let's look at the scale within Nigeria, for instance. We've got the population of 200, and I've rounded everything up. So in my mind, it's about 212,000 people, sorry, 212 million people in Nigeria, yeah? So that is a lot of people. So the poverty rate in Nigeria is like 92%. Now, I'm not putting that, but there is a causal factor that we need to be honest about. So this is a crude rate here. The suicide mortality rate in Nigeria is 9.5 people per 100,000. So again, if I round that up to 10, take that population, yeah, divide it by 100,000, multiply it by 10, again, that means roughly in Nigeria per year, we are losing 21,000 people to suicide. That's, in my heart, in my mind, that's 21,000 too many. Yeah, and that's just the ones we know about. So statistically speaking, across the world, we say at any one time, 1 in 20 people are walking around with suicidal thoughts. So put that into a Nigerian context again, that means 10.6 million plus are walking around with suicidal thoughts. So it is not beholden only on the medical services, it's beholden on all of us. So I normally say suicide is everyone's responsibility. And what I mean by that is we all have the ability to respond, whether it's in our professional lives, our personal lives, or the people we know, to get the message out there to start to care for people in our society so that we can avoid this tragedy happening to 21,000 people, which has a ripple effect. So as I said, in England, they've done research and it shows that those who are intimately affected by every suicide is 133 people. And that means their inability to continue to work, trying to make sense of it. Some people have to retire early, so they do all of that. Now, they've also calculated the financial cost. So in England and in the US, they've calculated the cost. In the US, they've calculated the cost at let's round it up, $1.4 million for every completed suicide. In England, they've calculated it as £1.67 million per completed suicide. Now, I don't want to get into the discussion about why a British death or an American death should be more than a Nigerian death. Yeah, but in my heart, every death is one too many and the cost is universal. So I haven't calculated the actual price in Naira, but all I know is for every pound, there's roughly today's interest rates, there's roughly 566 Naira per £1. So those of you who are statisticians and mathematicians, that's not me, please do the calculation. But that's just the financial cost. And I'm really interested in our social cost and us who are diaspora and those of you living in Nigeria saying, what are we going to do about it as a collective to support? So our response, my response, was to set up Action to Prevent Suicide and Goodwill in Action as a charity. The Goodwill in Action, as I've said to you, is to support raising funds so we can go out. The CIC, we're training, consultancy and support, and we're moving along because the antidote to suicide prevention is well-being. So we need to do that. So we work with an organization based in Canada who over the last 30 years, we've trained 2 million people worldwide. And these are the courses that we want to bring to Nigeria in due course and where we've been talking to many. And I like the reality that it's living works. Living works, it's not dying works, this is living works. And it's such a good cause because we train not only professionals, we train everyone in the community because people have a fear of, what if I say it wrong? What if I do this? You can't put the idea into someone's head. You know, it's really important to understand that. And it's really important. One of the things I think is really great about Nigeria, and is also a problem, is that we are very intellectual. You know, we've got more masters and more ologies than most of the planet put together. I don't know what that's about, but we've got all of that. But what I'm encouraging all of us to do is to be much more heartfelt and much more in our intuition. That means we have to be softer, kinder, and more aware, not trying to just get to the top and trying to get the biggest this or whatever. And that is really hard when we've got that. And this is in many cultures. Everything I say around suicide, as I say, is universal. But this is also deeply personal to me about Nigeria, Jamaica, and certain countries I've lived in. So this is the sort of collaboration that we need around suicide prevention. You know, we've got to work with so many different people. In this country, we've got social services, we've got schools, we've got faith leaders, because we have to heal this collectively rather than just focusing on a small amount of people. I could, however, for every group of person, tell you the figures, whether it's doctors, whether it's teachers, it doesn't matter. Everyone can be affected by this. It's not just because you're poor, it's not just because you're Black, it's not just because, I'm just saying it's so many different realities. So it's really important that we collaborate. So this is the organization that I've been collaborating with in Nigeria, Mentally Aware Nigeria Initiative. And Victor, who's a young psychiatrist, but he's also part of the United Nations Global Mental Health Alliance. And he's had his own experiences and he's done really well and got a wonderful team of people. So over the next few years, I want to work with the diaspora of Nigerians in this country, in America, for us to come to Nigeria, to train people within the community, and then eventually to have people trained within Nigeria who can deliver their own training, so that we have that ripple effect from here. So rather than Britain taking things from Nigeria, we give back what we took in the first place. So is that short and sweet enough?
Yes, thank you, Chuks. Are you going to stay with us?
Yes, definitely. Yeah,
okay, all right. We have a few questions.
Yeah.
So, but I think one of it, maybe we should leave the questions to the end. What do you think?
Yeah, it's up to you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Just to prepare you, some of it is about how we spot early signs.
Yeah, I can do all of that.
What kind of interventions we can do. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Please put your questions in the chat. If they're personal, you can please send them to me directly, so you don't have to write it for everybody to see. Just send me a personal question and I will ask it anonymously. Okay, next up, we're going to have Dari Asobel. Before we came on, I was asking him how to introduce him, but he wasn't he wasn't keen. But he is a lawyer by profession, but he's running ASAD, which is anti-depression and suicide squad, and another arm called Executives Initiative. But I'll let him talk a bit about himself, because then it'll be like we're doubling on it, and we want to sort of keep it in time, because we understand it's Sunday and tomorrow is another working day. So join me as I welcome Dari.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a privilege to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Ms. Lydia. So my name is Dari Asobele. Full name is Timothy Asobele Emmanuel Dari. I'm Nigerian. I'm from Kogi State in Nigeria. I'm based in Lagos. I'm the founder of Anti-Suicide and Depression Squad. So it's a subgroup under Executives Helping Initiative. And so I'm also a lawyer. Got called to bar in 2015. So I'll just give you guys a brief of what we do in our SARS and how we started. So I used to be suicidal and depressed, and I was able to come out of that. And so from coming out of that, I realized that, I needed to do something for people, because I understood what it felt like to be in that space. and I wanted to help people. Hence why we started ASAD, basically. I don't know if I have permission to. So I didn't come with like a PowerPoint or anything, but just to share a page so that people can see more, basically. So all right, so this is our Instagram page. We have about 2,000 down around there. So what we do is, so we have a forum. So I'll be telling us the structure of our sites. So we have a WhatsApp forum where we have over 700 people, almost 1,000. So it's a WhatsApp forum where we have mental health conversations to sort of sensitize people about mental health challenges and mental health issues. We also have about 7 to 10 professionals. Some of them are on the group, some of them are outside the group, where we refer serious cases to. We also have a group of trained personnel called ASAD listeners, which are a group of people that listen to people from time to time. And so one of the problems we're trying to solve is, so in Nigeria, we realize we're over 200 million. We do not have up to 1,000 professional therapists in Nigeria. So apologies to those of us outside Nigeria. So because I'm Nigerian and based in Nigeria, I'm just trying to focus on just tackling the problem here. So the idea now is we don't have up to 1,000 professional therapists in Nigeria, and we have over 200 million people. So let's even say we had about 1,000 professional therapists. It means one therapist has to listen to about 200,000 people, and that is a lot. So one of the strategies that we sort of came up with was, why don't we train people as ASAD listeners? And the goal is to train 3,000 people in all 36 states, so that in the space of 10 years, we can have more people that can be able to listen to people. We also have a session we started recently, which everyone can join. It's called Talking with a Therapist. So every Friday, 7 p.m. West African time on Zoom, we have a session where a therapist is waiting there and a group of people can just join in. It's confidential. Whatever I said there is confidential. We also have a physical support group session in Nigeria, which we do every month. So this year we're focused on sickle cell. So a group of people will sign the form, and everyone signs a non-disclosure agreement because we don't want people talking about what is shared. Basically, we need to make sure that people feel safe whenever they come for this session. And every third Saturday of the month, we sort of have Conversation and Chill, which we're in partnership with You Good App. So You Good App is an American app. For those of us that can check, it's an app where you can check up on your friends or contact list. So it's an app whereby only your fellow contact members, you can get to know what's going on with your fellow contact members. So for those of us that would download the app, it's called You Good App. So if I had everybody's contact now, you have on the app, green means you are okay, yellow means you are somehow, red means that you're not feeling good. So with that app, I can know what's going on with every single person on my contact list, as opposed to just sending a message saying, "Are you good?" So with the app, you get to know that. So You Good partner with us, and so they sponsor us every month, where we get to take random Nigerians out, and we have an amazing conversation talking about mental health. Yesterday we had the third edition, which we do that. And so another thing we do is we also partner from time to time, so we need volunteers. Most of our work are online, so we need volunteers willing to work with us online, to engage people. And so yeah, also, so you see Miss Lydia here. So we had a conference last May where we gathered so many mental health advocates. We came together to talk about mental health stakeholders, like what can we do together? How can we combine our resources? We had a couple of people from the States, Nigeria, to see what we could do. We spoke about, the mental health policies in Nigeria, and spoke about so many other things. And most importantly, we're taking actual steps to see what we can do as well, because I don't want to take our time too much on that. So yeah, that's what we're doing outside. We just want to see what we can do to just take it one step at a time. The idea is just to see how we can train 3,000 people in each state, do it within a space of 10 years, reduce mental health issues in Nigeria by 40% if possible, and get more professionals abroad in the diaspora willing to help, get more partners, and see how we can have constant support group sessions. So right now, we're only doing one physical support group session. Another thing we do is that we go to communities to educate people about mental health. There's still a lot of mental health stigmatization, in Nigeria. Some people think it's spiritual. I'm not saying it can't be spiritual, but, most people think it's spiritual. A couple of people still don't understand what's happening. I know I was talking to someone yesterday. She's working in the psychiatric hospital Ayaba, and she spoke about seeing a patient the first day that is auditory. She has schizophrenia. I think auditory schizophrenia, where she's hearing voices. People are telling her to do stuff and all of those things. So I can imagine that would be scary for some of us to see. So there's a need for us to talk about these things. I know Miss Lydia was telling me about a friend of ours that lost that's a friend of ours whose daughter lost someone, and a lot of things are just going on. We just need to be able to have this conversation. But for me, most importantly, is why I'm here, is that we just need to be able to get solutions towards understanding the problem. I know some of us still don't know what mental health is or what the suicidal thing is like. So I'm hoping all of us get clarity at this session. And most importantly, let's see how we can take actual steps. And peradventure, maybe you're suicidal and depressed. I'm just saying, hold on, do not give up. And I hope that with this session, you'll be encouraged and most importantly, be able to do something for people in your own space as well. So that'll be all for me. Thank you very much for having me, and I can't wait to share more as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Derek. I think we're going to take questions, which either both of you, Chooks, or yourself, can answer.
Lydia,
Yeah?
I can also do a little presentation here because I've noticed in the chat people are talking about how to spot the signs and everything. And Derek,
yes,
I really want to thank you
can
very
do
much.
that, and then we'll.
I'll do that.
Yes,
Derek, I want to say thank you very much as well, because that I understand more now, even better, the scale of the issue, and that is the reason why we need to do this at the community level. And so I think that's really cool. 10 years, let's do it by 5. So anyway, I'm going to quickly share what I would call the 7 top tips to sort of help people. And then please be aware that even though I'm sharing this, that normally we train people from 1 day to 2 days to really have these skills. But the skill that, as I say, is really important is the one that's in your heart, and really having the intuition to be able to respond to people who are in distress. And that Nigeria with mental health is where England was maybe 50 years ago. And even in England, it's still not that brilliant. We've still got ways to go. So over the world, the causes of mental distress, and as Harry said, some of it could be spiritual. It's not as easy as everyone thinks. But it has to be solved at a community level, we believe very strongly. Right, let me just share the screen, sorry. Oh, where is it? I've lost my share screen, hang on. So I'm just going to quickly run through 7 tips. This is normally a 45-minute presentation with questions, but I'm going to just do it as a presentation, then we can answer questions towards the end again. So just bear with me, please. Okay. So normally, as I say, this would be a session where we'd be doing a proper training with people in the room as support. We'd be looking after people. We talk about it being, as I say, confidential. And I always want to talk about the reality around suicide and confidentiality. Over here, if someone's at risk, that we have all these different rules about not sharing. But in essence, when someone tells you about their fact that they want to take their life by suicide, we call that an invitation rather than a cry for help. And in that time, you can't promise secrecy. I'd rather someone be angry with me and alive than dead and me feeling sad and the ripple effect, yeah? So we have to be really clear with a person about that. So, and again, just to say that if in the past you have known someone that you've tried to help and taken their life by suicide, please be compassionate with yourself, yeah? Because it's not your fault. Like I said, it's our ability to respond, but it's not our responsibility if someone chooses. But we can do everything we can to help and not let that happen. So let's move on. So these are some of the warning signs that you observe. And O is for observe, yeah? So it's when people have a negative view of themselves, they feel it's hopeless, they feel alone, yeah? They might be very aggressive, they might be very irritable. So these are common emotional responses in this country, in Nigeria. So you've got to really have that sensitivity. And I will say that, again, the responsibility rather than the reactivity. The reactivity just makes it even more volatile. They might, in America, especially in Canada, I'm not sure about Nigeria, they might possess lethal means, therefore weapons. In this country, we have it with farmers who want to, work on their own, and they have farming things. So again, in each country, the biggest way that people take their life by suicide worldwide is hanging. So you've got to be aware of that situation. They might feel like a burden on other people. They might be drastic mood changes. They might be frequently talking about death. Yeah, again, self-harm is a big thing worldwide now. People might be self-harming. So as I say, if you think about any behavior you see, all these warning signs, just intuitively feel that this could be an invitation to be able to look at the reality that they might be feeling suicidal. So we say, be curious. Sometimes we say, be nosy, but being curious in someone's, it's like sometimes when you're feeling alone, things like that. I'll come to that in the next one. So you look at what you observe using your senses, be open-minded and open-hearted, but don't assume, because we never know. So that's for O. Then reflect back to the person what you have observed, the language you've heard from what I've just shown you, what you've seen. So you might say sometimes when people are being aggressive or drinking too much, they're thinking of suicide, But because you've seen that behavior, you're not making an assumption, you're starting to reflect back to the person what you've seen, what you've heard, and what your intuition has told you, because your intuition kicks in really quickly, and you mustn't deny that, because that's where you get your ability to respond from. So then you have to be able to ask the question. And the reason why it's important to ask the question and the way in which you ask the question has to be very clear and heartfelt. You mustn't say things like, you're not going to do something silly, are you? Oh, is everything fine? Or whatever, you've got to be really curious. You've got to be compassionate and gentle and courageous, because sometimes we don't want to ask the question because we are concerned that we might not get, or we might get the answer that we don't really want to hear. And then you go, now what? So by being courageous, by being fearless, by being detached, and when I say being detached but heartfelt, knowing, like I said, that you are asking the question from your heart, but you are not fully responsible in your stomach or elsewhere in your body for them and their decision. So you stay calm, you don't worry, you don't panic, because worry is like a virus, So we try to keep calm, And we ask that question clearly, drawing on the observations and the reflections that you've seen in the first two things I just talked to you about. So you'd be able to say, like, let me give you an example. Someone's behaving in such a different way than they never behaved before. You could say, sometimes I've noticed that you're not behaving yourself. Is there anything going on? And sometimes people just want to dismiss you, but having the courage to be persistent and patient. You could ask, are you thinking about suicide? Now, when you use the word suicide, it means they haven't got anywhere to go with that. They're either going to say no, or they're going to say yes. You might be the first person that have noticed that this person is feeling suicidal. Now, I'm going to say something that might sound a bit controversial, but to me, it's not. Competition and the way in which we live our lives are one of the causal factors of suicide. Because if you're having to compete for your life, compete for your job, compete to be the best lawyer, the best doctor, the best this, it slowly edges away at your soul. That's not what we're here. That's almost like inhumanity to inhumanity. I've played first-class rugby, I've been an athlete, I've done so many things, but that sense of competition means that you can't relax, you can't do things. There's a lot of pressure on not only young people, men, everybody. So to move from competition, criticism, judgment, to compassion, care, empathy, very, very different. So a lot of people who feel suicidal are having to live in that turmoil, internal turmoil. So it's really important, if we are observing people in our lives And we've done our own work, because this is really hard to do if we haven't, dare I say it, like Darry just said, sorry, he has suffered, so he has empathy. He knows what it's like. Sometimes people haven't had that ability. Before I got into this work and my other bits of my life, I spent a lot of time numbing my feelings. You know, I've got family friends on this call who can attest to that. You know, it's just the way I got through surviving, but it broke my heart and made me more and more brokenhearted, more and more depressed, more and more isolated, more and more not able to love myself and the people who were loving me. Very painful. So care is really, really important in here. We define care within action to prevent suicide as compassion, acceptance, respect, and empathy. So compassion helps us work to support a person, yeah? So we have things over here which we can bring to Nigeria, we can support. We sit in circles like we used to do in the ancient of days, letting people talk, let them talk from their heart, not from their head, not with aggression, not with trying to prove a point, but gently, openly, open-heartedly. You know, the pain is real for people, whether you haven't got a house, whether you've got no money to feed your children, whatever the pain is, it's your perception of that pain. And we, when we're coming alongside a person, we need to give acceptance to that. It is as it is. We can fix it though, because we're going to have problems. I'm not worried about the problems. I, like Darry, we want to be on the solutions. Yeah, we're bringing solutions. And as we work together, more and more solutions can come up. Respect demonstrates the high regard for that person. When that person's in front of you feeling suicidal, we are very present with that person. That is showing our deep, deep, deep respect. And the empathy is to recognize and understand and share the thoughts and feelings. You don't have to have had everything, but it's having that sensitivity to be alongside. This is what people go away to learn on therapy. You've got 1,000 therapists only in Nigeria, but you've got 212 million people who can develop empathy. That is our goal, yeah? Next one. Come on, sorry. Okay, so L is for listen. So in the listening, if you stay calm enough and you're with a person, listen and silent have the two words in it. You listen to the person's story, because people will tell you why they're suffering, yeah? Now, it's very hard for a person to be suicidal and think about living at the same time. They're going to have one or the other. So by listening to a person, by being connected to a person, even if they're telling you they want to kill themselves, they're not killing themselves, they're there with you. So you're always trying to be really present with a person, yeah? If they're in immediate danger, I don't know all the services you have in Nigeria, but here we can ring 999, we can ring 116. Think about the future when we train all these people in the community, we can have active listeners, listening partners. Natural helpers is something we're calling it over here. So it'd be lovely to do that. We're peer-to-peer people, support people in a community level and of course organizations, yeah? So listening skills are something we can teach everybody, just to be really present and to shut off what we call in the Eastern tradition, your mind chitter, your monkey mind, just to silence and really become sensitive like a child is. So it's always important when you're listening to look interested, to involve yourself in responding, stay on target, i.e. stay with the person, test your understanding. If you're not sure, ask the question. It is so tempting to think you know, but the person knows what's affecting them, so it's really important. And then why I say neutralize your feelings, you want to neutralize your feelings so you're not, like I said earlier, going into panic, going into worry. So when I'm with people who are feeling suicidal, in my heart, I feel they're strong enough to stay alive. My only thing is to stay connected and to support them, for them to help themselves, which is really important. So because you followed your intuition and you've managed to ask the question for what you've seen, and the person might say yes. So then you start to explore with the person options. What options do they have? They might feel so alone and there may not be any options, but that's what we need to explore, yeah? So as you're exploring the options all the way through, you're looking for hints of uncertainty. If they say something like, well, you know, I'm looking forward to going on holiday next year, or my graduation, you know there's uncertainty. Uncertainty is good in suicide prevention work. You know, sometimes when you might say to someone about something and they go, yeah, but really messes with my head when I'm trying to be positive about life and everything else. But in a suicide prevention world, if someone says, da, 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 but, we want to grab that but, because the but is the uncertainty in their mind, yeah? So you're looking, you really are losing all those skills, yeah? You use open questions, you explore different directions. Again, if we think about those listeners, if we think about circles of support, these are the things we're trying to try and do this in England even, you know, you just try and get, who can help you? Could work help you? Could your pastor help you? Could your cousins help you? Because you want the person to be involved. They might be so estranged from all those people that we have to get better circles of support, yeah? But don't force it to the person. You're trying to work with the person, you know, rather than tell a person what to do. And then we can start to develop services which start to help services rather than, in this country even, we've medicalized social issues. We're medicalizing social issues. We've got to undo that and try and change that. And it's really important that we watch our attitude all the way through this. And then finally, we want to bring them into a place of safety. I love that You Good thing you just told us about. So I'm going to try and sign up with them straight away. You know, every day is a holy day. You learn something new every day. Yeah. Try not to support someone on your own. It's too much of a burden. That's why we need to be in teams, and teams, whether it's internationally, locally, think local, act national, act global. Yeah. And seek mutual agreement from the person you're trying to support. And remember, suicide prevention is everyone's responsibility. I've put here a house in New Zealand because this is the way New Zealanders in the Aboriginal community look at mental health and spirituality. So you've got the physical, they look at it like a house. You've got your spiritual, you've got your mental, emotional, you've got your roots, and then you've got your family and your social. Nev, who's one of my colleagues here, we utilized a thing called the Tree of Life, where we tried to show that you've got your individual tree, but together we become a forest. Yeah, so nothing is separate. We might, those of you might know the South African word, Ubuntu, I am because we are. We're not fully individual. And suicide prevention, safety, goodwill, all of that is so important in suicide prevention. So in summary, you observe using your 5 senses and your superpower, which is your intuition. You reflect back what you've observed. You ask directly about suicide and its means even. Before that as well, and all throughout, you've listened to the story. It might be because in this country, we have people who've separated from their families or divorced, lost money. That's the thing that pushes a lot of men very quickly. I've been talking to a lot of men recently to say, I'd much rather you be ashamed and feeling this sense of loss, and love even, and be alive than take your life. Show your care with compassion, acceptance, respect, and empathy. Listen patiently and silently. Explore the ideas and circles of support which you might have to help source, and then always get them safe. And always in that moment, you're helping people be safe for now. Not forever, in that moment, because in the now, you create the future. There's nothing you can do about the past. The past is what's normally brought them to that situation. It's really hard to do anything about the past. You can have empathy and understanding about a person's past, but our job, your presence, your everything takes place in the present moment and then creates a better future. You always have to have hope. If you go into the situation feeling it's hopeless, that's what the person is going to get. So it's really important. One of the things we say and one of the trainings we do, it begins with you. Even though that person in front of you might be suffering, it begins with you, your attitude, your heart, your gratefulness, everything, yeah? And that's it. Lydia, that's it. I'll just come out of this.
Thanks, Jux. I know it explained it, but we've got loads of questions.
Yeah, sure, definitely. I'm just coming out of this.
Okay, Dari, can you come back in so we can talk about the questions? There's something I want to talk about, which is this around the stigma.
Yeah.
But I think we can engage with the questions. I think a few of them talk about when we ask people, you said something about being quite direct and asking them, is this what you're thinking about?
Yes.
A lot of the questions are talking about, can that do more harm than good?
That is the number one stigma, myth, taboo around suicide. It can't. You are not magicians. If a person's thinking about it, you are not putting that idea in their heads. What you're doing is clarifying what is going on for that person. Yeah, so it's really important. That's why I said it's really important to be in your heart, to be courageous. It can't do more harm. What it gives you is then the ability to respond properly. There is no, we have to, as time goes by, break the taboo, yeah, to help a person feel connected. By asking that question, you're really showing a deep level of connection to that person.
Okay. So what if they say yes? How
oh, happy day. Happy day. If they say yes, it means that they are feeling safe enough to say yes to you. And this is where you, as I said, you start to think with them, talk about why they're feeling, what has brought them to this point. Yeah. Now, because in Nigeria, we've heard already there's not many services, even in this country, there's not many services, but we've got to think about how best to support that person in that moment. Is it going to be family? Is it going to be friends? That's why we've got such a big job ahead of ourselves to raise the awareness, yeah, so that people don't suddenly start to think it's juju or think it's this or that. We've got to get really clear. You know, there's so many causal factors. It could be homelessness. It could be the fact they've got no money. It could be so many things. That's not our job. Our job is to keep that person safe in that moment.
Okay.
So for them saying yes, that's to me is really important.
Okay. I think it's sometimes so difficult for people to understand how somebody gets to that place.
Yeah.
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 Because usually when you have conversations, they ask, what can be so wrong? You know, that person thinks that's the only way out. So they're thinking, well, I've been homeless before, or, you know, my spouse has left me. You know, they've had similar challenges that they overcame, and they can't understand why somebody just can't, you know, get on with it. And sometimes I would use the word, when people are of faith, you know, we can tend to think, their faith isn't deep enough, or, you know, they're not believing enough.
So what you're alluding to there, Lydia,
is how do we get somebody else to understand?
So that is such an important thing. Someone told me the other day of CCJ. Do you have that over this? You lawyers over there, do you have CCJ over there?
It's county court judgment. So
yes,
it's,
county court judgments over here.
Money.
So I heard this lovely phrase for CCJ, which was it was compare, criticize, and judge. In that situation you just alluded to, you've done those three things. You've compared your person to you. I had that problem, but nothing happened. You've criticized in your own mind, even though you haven't said it through your assumption. And then you judge that that person's suffering is not worthy. So, like I said, it's not about the other person, it's about you. Suicide prevention, more than anything, is about you and your response. Imagine that someone is feeling so bad and you go, get over it, pull yourself together. I've had that. That is why people feel so bad. They'd rather not even say anything, so that is why we need to have empathy. Because with empathy, you don't have that. If we are truly of faith, Jesus never judges. That's Old Testament stuff, yeah? And we can get fanatical through religion and be worse than actually the reality. We are not here as human beings to judge. We are here to help, support, love, and be empathetic. Now, that hasn't been my experience of living in Nigeria. That hasn't been my experience of living in Jamaica. That hasn't been my experience of living in England. There is not a country that doesn't do this. That's why we're having to work really hard to learn what does love look like. And I use that word. It's an activity. We have to work really hard. Things happen in people's lives, but it's your perception as to what is the pain like to what might make you want to take your life. So our job as a therapist, as a counselor, as a lawyer, no matter what role we have, is to be empathetic. And then we can help that person.
Okay. Somebody's asked, when people says, but most people are not trained. So when they're not trained, it can be a little difficult because you're like really chatting in waters that you don't understand or how to manage. So what's I know you've hinted a lot about how to approach, how to be present, how to be congruent with somebody, how to come alongside them. So I guess I'm answering the question. You don't have to be trained.
No.
You just have to come alongside that person.
So what I said earlier, that we are off the scale in Nigeria, we're very intellectual, we're very good. I'm going to challenge us to move from our intellect to our intuition, two different energies, or another way, metaphor, a spiritual metaphor, move out the tree of knowledge where you think I'm going to get all this training to the tree of wisdom, yeah, which is very different, yeah. It doesn't matter the youth, no matter how much training you have in this country, all the professionals who've been trained are so frightened of responding that in this country, 2/3 of people as well who take their lives do not go anywhere near a medical professional. And we have therapists off the scale, right? I go into universities to train therapists and get them to feel we can protect ourselves by our training. Oh, I'm a professional. This is against my boundaries. I can't go across this. This breaks this code, that code. We are just making it worse. People are dying. So the training is to become a human being. That is a training. That's why we're on this planet. That is not something that we go to school and learn, unfortunately, but we will do in the future. How to be kind, how to be loving, how to be gentle. That's what's going to stop people killing themselves. How can a man cry and it be okay? How can a man speak from his heart and be okay? His wife's not going to fall apart. All of these things, these are the conversations that we need. That's the training. That's the energy that helps people help other people. Okay. We're going to talk a little bit about depression before I go back to some of the things in the chat. And I think Daria is going to lead. Daria, do you want to share a bit about, because somebody had asked a direct question about how do we manage depression, or is it something that we can be rid of?
So yeah, I would like to share. So for me personally, I know that many of us, so I'm a person of faith. So for me, it was more of like this whole spiritual feeling of being able to come out of it. But looking back at it, I think it started in, it was something that happened for like 6 months. And, during that period, I know that I was just in my room, hardly going out. But some of the things that I did or that was able to like bring me out of it was music. I know I listened to a lot of music. I know that some of my friends tried to get me to go out. I know that I listened to a lot of podcasts, so powerful podcast images that were, so I listened to a lot of Les Brown, for those of us that know Les Brown. So some of those words and principles were literally building inside of me that when I finally was out of it, those are some of the things that I even do, the mentality thing, being able to understand that there's a reason why I'm here. This is for me personally. So I'm saying this from my own personal experience, So for me, it was just like a call to action. So I got out of it because I'm a lawyer. So you're wondering, like, just to encourage other people, the fact that you're not a professional does not mean you can't do something. So, the idea just came to me. I wanted to do something. Next thing, I just came up with the name, Anti-Suicide and Depression Squad. Told a friend to do a logo. I created a WhatsApp group, and in less than 6 hours, over 250 people joined the group. Over 250 people joined the group. So I don't want to go back to that mode, but if I didn't go through that process, I won't be doing what I'm doing now. Looking at the impact we've made in the last 3 to 4 years. And so what I'm saying is some of the things that I did is also have people to talk to. Sometimes I could just call some friends, random people, and just talk about how I feel. And, I also reached out to professionals as well, so I know that I reached out to some professionals online to tell them what I wanted to do. And even while I started it, I know that I still had to talk to some therapists just to be able to have that sense of community for me. And also I went through some training. So I went for a 7 days training because, just like I can't remember, Mr. Chooks, Mr. Maxwell just said, skill is very important. So you need to get skill, you need to get trained. Just based on some of the experiences that I've had in the last 3 years while listening to people, sometimes the energies could literally rub off. Some people just have this energy where you'll be surprised just listening to someone can literally just break you down if you're not prepared for it, like to know how to be able to detox. As I know, I was telling to Ms. Lydia that I got it. So because of my inexperience, I know that I told someone that I don't like talking to you because your energy just makes me feel down because I didn't have that experience basically as of that time, So for anyone that just feels suicidal, and so for me, I pray a lot, just being in that community of listening to music, but also getting the right professional. So I'm not trying to advertise Mrs. Lydia, but she's an amazing person. I talk to her even till now. She has my time, because sometimes it can literally be difficult, especially as a man. Today's Father's Day, we don't have people to talk to. In Nigeria, I don't know how it is in UK. The men are seen as the stronger people. Men don't cry. Mm-hmm. And, I know women also have their fair share with domestic violence, all of those things happening, dealing with loss. It can literally be a lot, but we need people. And for those of us that feel like, we're not getting help from, sometimes you yourself, you just have to just go for trainings or be able to get to people to be able to talk to you. So I'm just trying to speak to people here, that just feel like, so most times, most of us that feel this way, we just want people that we can talk to. And then also in Nigeria, there's the issue of therapy. So therapy is kind of expensive. I'm sure it's also expensive there. So people can't really afford it. So that's why, we have to try and make deals with professionals and, beg them so that they will be able to have free sessions. Because, they went to school for this, spent so many years for this. So they need to get paid. So, people want the best, but they don't want to pay for it. So if you want the best, you should be able to pay for it because it's your mental health. You need to take care of yourself. And if you have, sessions like this, take advantage of it, join it, but let's be able to take actual steps. I'm saying I'm challenging everybody here. Yeah. You can do something. Do not feel intimidated and feel like, oh, I need to go to school to do this. You can do something just as little as encouraging someone and saying, you're gonna have a wonderful day, be hopeful, don't give up, can really go a long way. So I'm saying also go for trainings. You can take classes, a couple of free classes. You also have to pay for classes as well. And just see what we can do in our own space. I'm sure some of us are looking at me and like, I can't believe that this guy was suicidal and depressed. I was, and I was able to come out of it, and I've been able to help so many people, and and also meeting great people as well. I would also like to reach out to some of us. Let's see how we can work together. Mm-hmm. But most importantly, like, please, I'm just begging everyone, in case you are suicidal or depressed, do not give up. Like, it's not the end of the world. And in case if you lost someone, dealing with grief, there are 5 stages, and those stages come in different, apparently there are even more stages, they come on different folds. Just be able to speak to someone, like reach out to someone, cry out for help. I would rather you shout at me than for me to know that, you just took your life. For personally, I've lost someone to suicide. Most of us have lost someone to suicide. And also on social media. So they blocked Twitter in Nigeria. So, we had someone that was tweeting that she was going to commit suicide. So sometimes, you could, for those, I'm sure everyone uses WhatsApp. So sometimes some people could be posting subscriptive messages on their status or on social media. You have to take note. Someone is telling you, I wish, why is life like this? Or using some crazy dark quotes, and for those of us that are parents as well, pay attention to your kids. I know we're all focused trying to make money and do this. And meanwhile, so another thing we do in ASAD, we have ASAD store where we go to communities. I know 2 years ago, or rather last year before COVID really hit us hard, I was talking to a woman that I lost her husband and she was working. And while I was interviewing her, I interviewed the kids, she was just finding out that her kids were bullied in school. She didn't know. If I didn't ask those questions, those leading questions, like how is school? So a lot of things are going on with our kids. And because we're focused on trying to make money, I'm not saying don't make money. We all need money, But I'm saying let's try and find time to talk to our kids. I'm not blaming parents. People have been molested by uncles, aunties, stuff are going on because you're neglecting all of these things. But these are things that you can just observe, ask questions. Because if we keep shouting on our kids and beating them, they are not going to want to talk to us. They're going to run away. And you don't want to regret and wish that, oh, I wish I was there for my child. I wish I had more time. And many of us, as you're listening to me, I'm sure you look back and know that there were times you wish mommy and daddy were there for you, to listen to you, and some things that happened to you. And, there are certain things that we're doing to our kids that our parents did to us, and we told ourselves that when we grow up, we're never going to do it. And now you are doing the same thing. I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad. I'm just saying, we need to actually start taking conscious steps to now start making the right decision. It's not too late. It's not too late, because the truth is, if we know better, we should do better. So let's say before this session, you didn't know about this, but now that you know about these things, you need to be able to do better. You need to be able to create an atmosphere that allows your child to speak to you. You need to create an atmosphere that allows, people to be able to express themselves, so that people can know that, okay, they feel comfortable talking to you. So I'm just here begging everyone that there are steps. I mean, just like Maxwell has said, actual steps you can take to just create that environment. I know many of us will say we need money and all of those things, but our duty is just to make sure people are good. And if for example, some of the things that I try to do as well is we have a community where we sort of post job opportunities for people so that they can make money in Nigeria on WhatsApp, so that people can get jobs and opportunities like that if it's possible. Because even if you keep giving people handouts, it's not sustainable, except you can be able to create a source of income for people to be able to do something. But I also want to encourage us that let's look out for organizations where we can express ourselves, speak about things that are troubling us, and just find that community as well, to be able to get clarity as well. So I'm just begging everyone as well. So thank you very much.
Okay, all right. And I also, I know Dari has spoken a bit about how he overcame or manages depression. We have to understand that for some people, they might need medication. For some people, it might be something that they will manage their whole life. Just like if you had diabetes or high blood pressure. So let's not, put people under pressure that
Lydia,
it's
can I just say
something that
something?
can go. Yes, go on.
One of the things, and Dari, thank you very much for sharing. In some cultures, there's no word for depression. Yeah. So in one culture, they call it talking too much. One culture, they talk about thinking too much. So as we start to have more universal understanding of these things, and yeah, medication can work, but ultimately it's a way of thinking. It's so much, and there's pressures from the external. So what Dari said is so important, because he almost like went through some of the traumas that affected my life in Nigeria, and the way in which we discipline our children, all these things, it just mounts up and up and up. Yeah, and so it's really, really important. I was wondering, Lydia, I've got a friend and colleague here, Iche, who lost her brother to suicide.
Yeah, she has. Something. Yes, she put it in the chat. I was just waiting for us to finish before letting her in. Please, can we unmute Ichi so she can speak? Okay.
Hello, everyone. Yes, my name's Iche Otonti, and I'm very good friends with Chuks. His mother was a second mother to me. So, yes, I'm very aware of him. And I know a couple of other faces on this call, Yemisi being one of them, Yemisi Ayeni. But I wanted to share from a personal point of view how it was with me, because not only have I lost a brother to suicide, I have been suicidal in the past. And someone was asking the question about, if you're not trained, could you not do more harm than good? For me, I just felt so alone. I felt so much pressure to be this person, to match up to society's vision of how we should be. And in Nigeria, we do have very strong expectations of people. We expect people to be wealthy. We expect people to be to have good jobs. We expect people to dress a certain way. We expect people to look a certain way. We expect our children. So many expectations. And those expectations can overwhelm children. And all children are not the same. So what doesn't affect one child can affect another child. So for me, I grew up in a very domineering family where, you know, you were told what you should eat, what you should wear, what you should read, what you should watch on TV, who you should speak to. So basically, no control. And we were beaten. And, you know, so the Nigerian, because I'm Nigerian, the Nigerian mentality of spare the rod and spoil the child was definitely a thing, and that can cause trauma. We have to be aware that those sorts of things can cause trauma in our children, and they carry that trauma inside them for the rest of their lives. And if they don't learn how to deal with it, it can come out at later stages in life. So for me, I had got to a point where I just felt so alone, so lacking control over my own life, because I didn't understand that I could take control of my own life. I didn't understand that actually you create your own life by what you think. So my thoughts were all about, you know, I'm not boasting, but I did well in school. I was always top of the class. I was a swimmer. I was a squash player. It didn't make me feel good. It didn't make me feel like a winner. I inside felt like a failure, like I was not good enough, no matter how well I did. So don't always judge a book by its cover, because that person who appears to be very successful inside may be dying, may be, you know, have a totally different impression. And this is where listening, Chooks talked about listening and observing and being, coming into our hearts, coming into our intuition. Often we can feel things, but we discount them. You know, sometimes we know someone is in trouble, but we don't want to deal with it, or we discount it because, oh no, they're doing so well, they can't possibly be in trouble. But for me, it was, I had got to the point, I started cleaning my house because I didn't want people to find my dead body in a dirty house. Again, expectations. But something in me, because I am a fighter, something in me said, ask for help. And I called a friend, and all I could do was just sob on the phone. She didn't know who it was. But straight away, when I said who, you know, it's Iche, she just got in her car and drove to see me. And sometimes that's what you need. You need someone to actually listen, to really listen, not just give platitudes. Ah, it will be okay. It will be okay. Don't worry. Don't worry. No, I've been feeling like this for 10 years. It's not going to be okay. It's not about the job. It's not about, it's what I'm feeling inside. It's what has been building and building and building and building. And sometimes we have to realize that it's sometimes people just need someone to really listen to them, hear what they're saying, not give them platitudes about it being okay. My brother went on to, after this was some years after me, after my feelings, but again, it wasn't, I didn't really share this with my family because I didn't want to be judged. I didn't want people to feel I was a failure. I didn't want people to feel, you know, so there's that stigma, there's that not wanting to disappoint people. Maybe if I had, my brother wouldn't have committed suicide, but he went on to commit suicide some years later. And obviously we came from the same background, same upbringing, but he also had mental health problems. But, afterwards it was like, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I this? Why? So what Chooks was saying about the ripple effect, the ripple effect was great. It's so great, family, friends, people who wished they had really listened. And but that experience has given me such great insight into not judging a book by its cover, but feeling and listening, because those are so important. And my friend, she wasn't trained in anything, but she came and she was there and she listened. And that really, really helped. So ultimately, I did go to the GP. He put me on antidepressants. They were the worst possible thing for me. They made me feel even worse. And that's another thing. And I think Chooks also alluded to this. It was that, well-being, mental well-being is not just about the mind. It also involves the body, what we eat, how we, because after this whole thing with antidepressants, I started researching, and I found a nutritional therapist who was able to test me for any deficiencies or any intolerances. And he found I was very deficient in vitamin D, very deficient in magnesium, very deficient in chromium, very deficient in iron. And all those things were combining to put my system totally out of balance. And when I started taking the supplements that he recommended, it was like my life was, my mood improved, my energy, everything. So sometimes it's a whole raft of things. It's not just one thing. It can be mental stuff you're going through, but it can also be physical stuff. That's all combining, layering up to create this situation where you just get tipped over. A little thing can tip you over the edge, So I just wanted to share, because being there, being in that place, having overcome it, understanding for me what worked and what helped. And since then, I've done a lot of work on myself. I've done lots of courses, I've done lots of things, and I've learned how to take back control of my life. And I could have had the control, but I just didn't understand how, because my life had been controlled. I had been told what to do, what to eat, everything was controlled. And then society creates expectations. So, and for men in Nigeria, I know the expectation is huge. You're a man, you're supposed to be the breadwinner, you're supposed to be this, you're supposed to be strong. And I think ultimately a lot of, Nigerian men who do go down that route, it's because of this weight of responsibility and not being able to express their feelings, not being able to be heard, not being able to cry, So, but this work you're doing, Chooks, is so important. And Dari, I'm so impressed by what you're doing, Dari, because, it's really opening the doors. And I'm sure a lot of you on the call are also part of what's going on in Nigeria, but it's so necessary. And it's so necessary to drop into our hearts and caring for people, not judging. I'll stop there.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing of yourself. And are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. It's important not to hide these things. It's important to put it out there. Yemisi probably didn't know any of this, so it's important to put it out there, make people feel they can talk about these things. It's like any other illness or condition. We should talk about it, and we should get help, and we should, not see it as something to be afraid of. Nigerian children are committing suicide in British universities. We need to have those conversations with our children. We need to let them know that, those expectations we have of them don't make them any less of a human being if they can't match them. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Just picking up on something Nietzsche said. Somebody asked, sometimes somebody may commit suicide, but there were no warning signs. Is that possible, Chooks? Where we didn't pick up?
It may, as he just said, it may not be to you. That's why this whole thing about everyone's responsibility, because it doesn't just normally come from nowhere. It's the build up. And so by everything he just said and Darius said and all of us, we have to enable our children to express themselves. And then it may come as a shock to people because you made assumptions. Like Iche said, you judged the book cover rather than underneath. So the question we need to ask to people, what has happened to you? Not is what is wrong with you. What has happened to you? And that thing about abuse, we've got people coming out here in Nigerian people at a certain age who are coming out with all the abuse that's happened in their families. You carry that for many years. You're ashamed, you think it's your fault. This is not only in Nigerian families, this is universal. But we've got to drop this pretense of being so strong, because in our strength, we're at our weakness. On here is Chris Luby. Chris was one of Nelson Mandela's bodyguards, and he's got stories to tell which make me feel so humble. And it's really important that even through him being in prison and Nelson Mandela and people like this being in prison, what they overcame and what lessons they can help us about compassion and respect. Chris told me that Nelson Mandela said to him, it's much easier to be angry and take revenge than to be forgiving and loving. That's the amount of courage we need. You can't learn this you can't get an LG or a master's or PhD in this. This is our birthright. I don't care which tribe, which color, whatever. If we really believe in God, this is our work. My real name is Chukwuemeka and I'm Oho Chukwu, really. It's not Maxwell, I'm Oho Chukwu. I can't say it. I meant to put a W in it nowadays, I'm told, but anyway, that's what I am.
Okay. All right. Let's talk a bit about stigma. Do you feel that stigma is more cultural?
No, it's universal.
Oh, it's universal.
It's universal. We have it more intense in certain places. If I was to take this to the Middle East, off the scale again. Of course it's culture, but cultures are just cults, individual cults. You've got a Hausa cult, you've got an Igbo cult, you've got and then we break it down even more. So every culture, but there should be one human family with many different diverse experiences. And we're healing from the past. We're healing from the past.
Okay, I think we've got about 20 minutes. I've asked for any last questions. If not, I'll just ask Dari and yourself to give us a final charge. I know both of you has said it all through your conversation today, but just something to leave us with, and then we can close. And people can leave, but if there's anybody who wants to stay behind, just chat with me. If Dari and Chooks want to stay on,
All right.
please do. But otherwise, I'm just checking to see if there are any more questions. Okay. The only admin thing is there's a feedback form. If we can please complete it, because that means you tell us what was useful, what wasn't, and we can do better next time. Okay, who wants to go first? Dari? Or yeah, Dari can go, and then Chooks can close us out.
All right. Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the session. For us to still be here means we've been enjoying the session. Don't forget to fill the feedback form so that you can get a recording. First of all, thank you so much for sharing, Ichi. And I know there are so many other people that wanted to talk, but maybe because due to time, I understand. Most importantly, I just want us to understand that there's a reason why we are here. I saw a play recently. I was invited for a play in Nigeria. It was on mental health, and it was about how people committed suicide for different reasons. Someone committed suicide because she didn't have money to pay for rent. Someone committed suicide because he was owing money. Someone committed suicide because he failed an exam. But the end of the story was really shocking for me, and that's what I want us to go with. The end of the story now looked at the names of everyone that had committed suicide. So in Nigeria, our names mean something, and so the names of everyone that had committed suicide showed what their assignment was. So I really don't know what our names are, but I want everybody to look at, what does your name mean? Your name is the reason why you are here. And you need to be able to understand that you need to achieve that purpose. I'm not trying to put pressure on you, but your name means something. What does your name mean? So my own name means Oluwadamilare, meaning that God has delivered. My Christian name is Emmanuel, God with us, meaning God is with me. So our names are the reasons why we are here, and we cannot do life alone. Nobody can do life alone. We need people. So let's join communities both abroad in Nigeria, speak to people, join support group sessions. If you're someone that has been trained, be willing to do free training. Now with our social media platforms, you don't need to spend so much money. It's just to create a flyer, share to your friends, tell them you're doing a community support group. You can invite people to your place because of security reasons. Make them sign a Google form, sign a non-disclosure agreement. So say one guy in Nigeria said, we can invite people over to the house and all of those things. So you want to be sure, but you can also do Zoom. All of us are from different parts of the world. We can have this session. This can be something we have once a week, or once a month, whereby you just gather people and talk and encourage people, give them clarity. But if you're going to say you want to do something, there's a lot of work to be done. You need to get skill. You need to get the help of professionals willing to come to speak, and also understand your target audience. We can't do everything, but we need everybody doing different things at the same time. So I just want to say thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you so much for everybody sharing. And so yeah, that's just about it. You can also follow us on our page at asat.ei. And I hope some of us will join the therapy session every Friday, 7 p.m. West African time as well. So yeah. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dari. Chooks?
Yes, so thank you, Dari. This is, as I said, 4 years ago, coming back from that conference, I met a psychiatrist called Damiola, and Mustafa Damiola, and then he introduced me to Victor. And so that's 2 professionals out of 1,000, so I've only got 998 to go. However, my aspiration is to come to Nigeria, to raise money from diaspora all across the world, to come to Nigeria. It's not a lot of money to come, to train people who will then, as years go by, within this next 10 years that Dari's talked about, we'll have so many people trained to respond. This is just the first, because we've got things to do. We've got people to feed. 92% poverty rate. We've got to do that opposite. Yeah. For a country that's so wealthy, so much trauma, this is how we heal the trauma. There's no country on the planet that doesn't have trauma, by the way. But this one is a big one for me. You know, the oil trauma, everything, the corruption trauma, you name it. Let's change that narrative for Nigeria and really show that we are a compassionate country that can help. In Zimbabwe, they had to do the same thing. They trained grandmothers to do the listening. And there's a wonderful thing. So let's just share those resources. COVID for me has brought the world together. So I feel really optimistic that we can come down there and give people the skills to become what we call suicide first aiders or natural helpers, because it's a continuum of things. Over in this country, people are taking their life because they are part of gangs. People are taking their lives because of domestic abuse. So we have to address the causes. Yeah, we have to do our own work. And like Dari said, our names mean something. Mine means thank God. I have to give thanks for everything that I have. It's even what I would call the not so good parts, because those not so good parts have helped me transform to want to do this. Some people find me a bit intense because I'm always on it. but we have to as well learn how to relax, because there is no point in doing this with so much tension, so much drive. You would just do more harm than good. So softly, gently, swiftly, in God's own time, which is what Ohochuku means as well. That's me. Thank you for coming, everybody. Let's all keep in touch. Let's keep informed and let's support each other.
Okay. Thank you all again. Thank you for coming. My name is Lydia Khalil. I run a counseling practice. I have a television program, all of these talking about mental health, doing mental health work. And part of my goal is to bring that into Africa, bring it into Nigeria. So I hope this evening has been informative. I hope we've learned how to listen, or at least got the message that listening is very important. Being able to empathize and to come along somebody on their own journey when they're struggling. So we're going to close with a bit of meditation. We're going to actually close the main meeting so people can leave before 5. And anybody who wants to stay behind, maybe to ask me or Chuks or Dari a question, please do so. But we're going to close out with some meditation, just to center us and to help us get ourselves together again before going back into what might be a busy evening. But please look after yourself. Everything that we've talked about in the group stays in the group. Take it easy, love yourself so you can love your neighbor better. Thank you. Barry.
All right. So we're going to practice a couple of mindful meditation. So I'm going to play something for us just to keep our minds calm. I hope everybody can see me. I really want everybody to show their face, if it's possible. So we're going to take a deep breath in from our stomach. I want you to take a deep breath in from your stomach. So you're going to take a deep breath in from your stomach, and then you're going to hold your breath for 3 seconds. Please, if you know you have asthma or you know you can't breathe well properly, do not do this. So the reason for this exercise is so that you can be able to calm down. You know, maybe when you're angry, when you're upset, maybe someone says something to you and you just want to pause. So please, I want everyone to take this seriously. So you can do this from time to time. Now, so I want you to just close your eyes. I want everybody to close their eyes. So just close your eyes. Now just take a deep breath in from your stomach. Hold. 1, 2, 3. Now breathe out. So let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. Now breathe out. So this time around, let's try and do 5 seconds. So take a deep breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now breathe out. So let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now breathe out. Now let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out. Now this time around, as you breathe in, holding your breath for 5 seconds, I want you to feel all kinds of emotions. Like I want you to be aware of how you feel, whether you're upset, you're angry. I want you to feel everything while you take a deep breath in and you're holding your breath for 5 seconds. But another thing I want you to do is that when we breathe out, you're going to have to let go of all the tension, all the anger, all the frustration. Once I count 5, final 5. So as you're taking a deep breath in, I want you to feel all the emotions. If you're angry, hungry, upset, feel everything. But when I count 1 to 5, you have to let go of every single thing. So I'm going to do that now. So as you take a deep breath in, feel everything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let go of all the anger, all the negative energy. Just let every single thing go. Now we're going to do the final segment, which is us taking a deep breath in. But this time around, I want you to, think of the future place you want to be. Now, do not limit yourself. As you're closing your eyes, I want you to see yourself succeeding at whatever it is you want to do. Maybe getting a job, getting an alert, being mentally aware, being good in the mental space, enjoying a nice company, whatever it is. As you take a deep breath in, I want you to see all of those things. And as I breathe out, just feel that peace once I count that final 5. So as you take this deep breath in, I want you to see yourself achieving so much possibilities. This segment is to allow you break all kinds of limiting belief. Some of us have told ourselves that we can't be successful. You don't think you deserve a good life. You're holding on to so much. So I want you to release that energy. And as we take a deep breath in, see yourself achieving so much more. So let's take that deep breath in now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's breathe out. So let's try it again. This time around, I want you to close your eyes. Imagine all the possibilities, all things you can achieve. So take that deep breath in now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So thank you very much, everyone. I hope you feel relaxed. And I just want to encourage us from time to time, practice that exercise so that you feel good and, you feel amazing and you just feel relaxed. So once again, don't forget to fill the feedback form. It's still Oluwatosin Lawal has kept it. And I'm guessing we've come to the end of the session. That's the last question. So, all right.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you again for joining. Thank you to Dari, Chooks, and Uchi for sharing, to Timmy, Minister Happy, and Tosi. Thank you. Tosi, will you pray? Timmy? Timmy, are you there?
Okay, thank you everyone for joining in. Let's just pray. Lord, we thank you for everything that we have learned today. We thank you because we know that, even as one of the speakers said, this is why you have called us. We're here for this. Lord, we thank you because we know that this session has not just been a session, but it has brought about healing, it has brought about knowledge and so many more things that we are going out there to implement. Give us grace, Lord, and help this conversation to continue. Help us to be able to take action. Help us to be empowered to do much more than we're doing. Thank you for the speakers. Thank you for the organizers. Thank you for the participants. Thank you for everyone. And we just pray that you would actually raise more people who will come up with more solutions for our nation, our continent, our world. In Jesus' name. Thank you, Lord. Amen.
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 Amen. Amen. We can, I'm going to unmute everybody so we can say hi. Or you can unmute yourselves if you want to say hi.
I'd just like to say thank
Mhm.
you. Thank
Go
you
on, somebody
to
was
all
going
of
to say
you.
something. Somebody was going to say something.
Just saying thank you to everyone, all the organizers and everyone who attended.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Okay, somebody's asking for Dari's WhatsApp link. Dari, do you want to put it on?
You're
Okay.
muted, Dari.
Yeah, so I've kept the link, the WhatsApp link now, so that people can join.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mrs. Lydia. You look very pretty, by the way. I've been admiring your makeup.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and then thank you to Chooks. I mean, you were well articulated. So
Thank you.
I found that very, very, what's the word? Inspiring. I mean, it wasn't just in your message, but I mean the way you communicated it, the delivery was fantastic. And then Dari, my very good friend as well. I'm glad. I mean, I've been a part of Assad, although not so active, and I see everything that he does along with his growing with God platform. Keep going, keep soaring. God is definitely by your side. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, people. Okay, people haven't left. They're still on.